Hey, what's up, guys? It is the Ace Michaels Show, and I'm Ace Michaels, luxuriously lounging in my milk bath right now, being treated to some mint julep tea. And no, I'm kidding. Look at you guys. You fell for it, though. You guys were like, oh, wow, podcasting pays off. No, it doesn't pay off, trust me. So, listen, I'm doing a thing right now. You probably can't hear it. I wish you could. Can you hear this? Yeah, you can hear it. It's not what you think it is. Anyway, I'm doing a show right now, and I'm doing my blood pressure monitoring while the show is going on. Simultaneously, I'm doing two things at once. And as soon as my blood pressure monitor is done, you're going to say, first off, right now, you're wondering, what does this have to do with me? Anyway, as soon as it's done, we're going to read it on the air, and my guest is going to tell me some good stuff about watching and maintaining your weight and blood pressure. That's what's up. So mine is very high. I'm almost embarrassed to say how high it is. It's really high. It's like 3,126 or something like that. So it's really up there. And a doctor had told me right before the pandemic that I needed to watch my blood pressure because I'm in the group, I'm a black man. I'm in my middle, y'all don't need to know that part, but I'm in my middle somethings. So today, my reading, I'm going to show the doctor. I'm not going to tell you guys yet.
Oh, my goodness. So the number is 175 over.
She told you. You're not supposed to tell
nobody.
nobody.
You don't want me to tell the number?
The numbers.
The number is high. I wouldn't even say mildly elevated. It's high.
It's very high, right?
Yes, but for it to be an educational moment, we should share the number.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Doc.
It's 175 over 157. And we'll talk about why.
And 95 number 2, right?
Well, the 95 is your pulse.
Oh, okay.
Yep. So pulse is in a normal range because we want that to be less than 100. But the top and bottom numbers, which that is the systolic and diastolic numbers, are both significantly elevated. So we got to talk about it.
Okay, so now you're wondering, well, who is that honey-voiced individual on your show, Mr. Michaels? Welcome to the show for the first time. Dr. Jade, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Jade is on the show letting me know that my blood pressure is extremely high. I knew it was high, and it was higher than that. But Dr. Jade, tell me what I'm facing here. Like, what are my concerns? What's going on with me?
Absolutely. So when we think about blood pressure, the medical term for that is hypertension. Okay. High blood pressure equals hypertension. And the main thing about it is the higher your blood pressure, the harder your heart is working to pump blood through your body. And long term, that can cause problems. That can cause problems in your kidneys, in your eyes, in your heart, in your brain. And we think of that as heart attack, stroke, kidney failure, blindness. So there's all types of negative impacts. And we're not even getting to the other chronic diseases like diabetes and high cholesterol. And if we're just sticking to blood pressure, heart attack is the number one cause of sudden death in our country. And so high blood pressure is one of the most considerate factors. And if I ask you today, like, do you have any symptoms, or do you have, a headache right now, or do you have chest pain right now, or shortness of breath right now, you would say what?
No, I have neither of those three. None of those. I don't have I don't have a headache. I am concerned, like most guys would be, will this affect my erectile situation? Like, I don't want anything getting in the way of my, my pump action. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good question, and that's what a lot of men are concerned about. So
that's pretty much all we're concerned about, Dr. J. To be honest, well, we don't care. We're like, we'll take the heart attack, man. That ain't no big deal. Well, you have a little chest pain for a while, but you can still get erect, right? Okay,
oh my gosh,
cool. I'm good.
So here's the thing with that. The reason I ask about and I'm going to circle back to your question.
It might be a long circle.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be a short circle. It's going to be a short circle. But the fact that you don't have any chest pain, shortness of breath, or headaches right now, which are some symptoms when you're having extremely high blood pressure, most people don't have those symptoms, which is why high blood pressure is called, or hypertension is called, the silent killer. And so while we're walking around feeling fine, not seeing our doctor because we feel fine,
right?
Meanwhile, all of a sudden you immediately have a heart attack and stroke. And guess what? You can't have that erection when that happens. Okay. So.
Oh, Doc. Okay. Listen, this show is temporarily, I don't know what we're going to, you can't just drop that on me. Whoa. Everything she said made sense until she said that part. That's the one thing that like cued me in. Like, oh no, we got to do something about this right away. So okay, so here's one of my more popular questions in my head. So I do have high blood pressure. My grandfather, he died with diabetes. My grandmother had cancer. She was an obese woman. She was like the chunky, lovable grandma, you know. So she was a obese woman. She had cancer. Then she lost a lot of weight, but because of her diet, which is why she put on all the weight, once she lost all of the weight from the chemo, she still had that sweet tooth. And so then really what killed her was diabetes. All right. So I have it in my family. I'm a black man, a sexy black man, by the way, ladies, just so you know. Just throwing it out there if you haven't seen me. I'm just saying. Anyway, no, but I am in that risk group, the high risk group, actually. Basically, and since it's hereditary, I should be concerned about this. Very much concerned, right?
So you should definitely be diligent about your health and your health screenings. And the big part of you were asking me what I wanted to talk about. The importance of prevention is really what I try to talk about. So just to rewind a bit about me. So in medical school, originally I thought I wanted to be an OBGYN. I thought I wanted to deliver babies and be in the hospital just delivering babies, right? Yeah, that sounded really nice. But in medical school, they had each lecture, which were predominantly taught by white professors, okay? So I have 15 years of training. And in every lecture, they had this slide, whether we were talking about blood pressure, sexually transmitted infections, kidney disease, cancer. It didn't matter what the topic was. They had this slide they called an epidemiology slide. And that was when they broke the disease that we were talking about of the day down by race. And almost every lecture, I would be one of the few, maybe 2 or 3 black people out of hundreds of white medical students, predominantly white medical students, and a white professor that would sit down in every lecture and see this chart that says, Blacks are number 1. Blacks are number 1 for diabetes. Blacks are number 1 for cancer. Blacks are number 1. So that frustrated me. And one of my colleagues said, well, you don't need to, it's not racism, it's epidemiology. It's what's happening, whether you like it or not. And And so I said to myself, I can either be mad about it and go deliver babies, or I can I can choose to do something about it. And so I changed my path, and my passion and my desire switched over to primary care. Specifically family medicine, and my whole why in medicine is to help prevent and reverse chronic disease, and specifically help the Black community with the prevention, with the chronic disease reversal, so that we are lower on these chronic diseases. And so that's what I do, and that's what I specialize in and what I love.
So, Dr. Jade, why are we so akin to getting these diseases as Black people? Is it our diet, our lifestyle, a combination of both? Is it just genetics? Is it something that no matter what, Black people, just are gonna get these diseases? Like, what's the deal?
That's a great question. And so we say it's a multidisciplinary approach, meaning it's not just one thing. And we are individuals. Whether they try to clump us all into just being Black, that is not the case, right? We are individuals. Our genes are diverse. We have mixtures of different heritages. Even though we are considered Black or African American, we're all different. So to say that it's one thing for one group of people, that's inaccurate, okay? But what we do know is that our health habits have a huge contributing factors, and so much research has been done and proven that our lifestyle can reverse and prevent chronic disease, which is a big part of why I try to personally work with my patients and clients in my medical practice, Inspire Primary Care, and beyond, to help them with their nutrition and their sleep and their stress and their exercise, their movement, in addition to screening for those other more genetic health factors, right? And like colon cancer and things like that. So it's a combination of looking at all of those things, not just saying it's just one thing, because that's just not going to be accurate.
Now, as a person, because you used a different term, I said I had high blood pressure, and then you said this other thing, like it was like Super Thor and Captain America style high blood pressure. Something you used as a term that was like, it meant it was even more serious than I thought it was. So what is a person to do when they know that they have high blood pressure? I mean, you can't just change your diet, and you can't just start doing exercise, right? And is that going to bring it down?
That's a great question. So the thing about it is, it's so important. 90% of your healthcare is primary care. It's so important to get a quality, wellness-focused primary care physician, which is why I opened my private practice in town, because in an insurance-based practice, I wouldn't be able to provide that quality care. I'd have to get you in, get you out in 10 minutes because that's what the insurance companies require, which is why I opened a membership medical practice where I can spend the amount of time that's needed with my patients and really focus on the root cause of disease and helping them to prevent and reverse chronic disease, which simply just takes more time. Okay. And so when you ask what can be done, there are so many behavioral aspects that can reduce the blood pressure, such as decreasing your alcohol use, decreasing your sodium intake or your salt intake. Those things can contribute in addition to other things. But a major thing that a lot of people want to skip over and glance over is a healthy weight is a major contributing factor to blood pressure being elevated. So a big part of what I do in my practice is weight loss and helping my patients to transition to a healthier weight, because being obese or overweight is tightly correlated to almost all of the chronic diseases, including blood pressure.
Now, you mentioned, the dark side. We don't like to speak about the I word because it's such a detriment. When you even have a toothache and you go to the dentist and you find out that your state-run insurance really doesn't cover that much, and everything else is still going to cost you $3,000 or $4,000 if you're lucky. I think it deters a lot of people from going to the doctor. And as a doctor, I'm sure you would like more people to go to the doctor. But that thing about the insurance really slows us down here in America. We have a terrible medical system where the insurance. I knew a lady who was from Norway. She had colon cancer, which was diagnosed here in the States. And she had I said Norway, people. She had money. She had a really nice couple of estates that she owned. She owned property here in the U.S. And because of the cost of her treatments, after a few years, she had to sell her property. She didn't have the money that she used to have, we're going to talk about what I call the miracle cure in a second, which is marijuana. Just think about that. I want to ask your opinion about marijuana treatments and CBD and THC and all that good stuff. But the insurance thing. So you said something that really warmed my heart. So you purposefully decided not to go with an insurance-based practice. I didn't even know doctors could do that. I thought you had to be insurance-based. How do you do that?
Absolutely. So this style of practice, it's a membership medical practice, also called direct primary care. There's over 2,000 practices like this across the country. You can think of it like a gym membership or Netflix of primary care.
I love it.
That's exactly what it is. It's a flat monthly membership for unlimited primary care directly with your doctor, where your doctor is just a text message away, and easy access to appointments. And so it's literally basically old school medicine back when you knew your doctor and you could call them up. It's that, but with the twist of modern technology, being able to hop on video or text or pop in the office.
So you guys who are listening, visualize the icon of Dr. Jade, who's a beautiful doctor, by the way. She's a beautiful woman.
Thank you.
And, imagine like her walking up your stairs with her little bag, and then she gets there and you're in the bed and she like opens it up and she's like, hey, man, an apple a day, or whatever she says. Anyway, okay, so let's talk about pot then. Dun, dun, dun. Those of us on the streets are under the belief that pot can cure everything and that the man doesn't want us to know that. Now, you're a doctor, so let us set us straight. Pot, seriously or not?
So what are you using it to treat? Just like anything, what are you trying to treat with it?
I got like restless leg disease. I got I got binge watch Netflix chamomile disease. No, when it comes to pot, people don't have real diseases. They're like, oh, I think it helps me sleep better, so I need to smoke a joint before bed every night. But it just makes us feel good, right? It just really does. But is it really a good medical treatment for anything? Now, the lady I was telling you about with colon cancer, she'd done chemo, and me being kind of a hippie, I told her, well, why don't you just try some Dr. Rick Simpson's oil or try just to smoke a joint here and there. And she did, and she said she felt better. She said she felt better after smoking pot on a regular basis. She felt better than she did with any of her treatments. But is that a true thing, doctor? I mean, do we really feel better, or are we just high?
Yeah, that's a good question. And so the honest answer is there hasn't been enough evidence-based studies done to truly say, because that takes the government putting money into doing these type of studies. And so that hasn't been done because have the pharmaceutical companies figured out a way to drive that revenue? No, so they haven't really put money into those studies. So can I sit here and tell you that? No, because that wouldn't be based on evidence-based medicine. What has been studied, though, is that what we know about marijuana and THC is that it does feedback on the brain, on the pain receptors of the brain. So in cancers in particular, that is a very painful disease. And so a lot of oncologists, and I rotated with different oncologists in my training in California, a lot of oncologists will recommend for patients to try that in conjunction to other pain therapies because it is something that partially works on pain receptors in the brain. So it's specifically for cancer-related pain where physicians have enough studies to prove that that can have some effect, where that is a field of medicine where it's regularly recommended. Now, I have a lot of patients personally in my practice that use marijuana sometimes in an unhealthy way. For example, the underlying concern is depression or anxiety, and they're using marijuana to try to numb that away. Or when they express to me that when they are high, they feel less anxious or they feel less depressed versus talking about the trauma that is actually the root cause of that depression or that anxiety. So, you know, if it's being used for an appropriate medical diagnosis, then yes. But if it's being used as something to numb out a root cause that's not being addressed and that you don't want to address, then
Interesting.
yeah.
Now I want to ask you a question because a guest came on my show the other day. She had the audacity to come on my show and talk to me about microdosing. And I don't know much about microdosing. To me, that sounds like you're just taking a smaller dosage of something that's probably dangerous, but because you're doing a microdose, and she was actually talking about microdosing things like LSD or mushrooms and how it could help your spirit journey. If you go to the desert and you do a little mushrooms, microdose them, and you're going to get a clearer path. And I thought, that just sounds like doing dope, but less of it. So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that, Dr.
I literally
Jade?
have no thoughts on that.
Right. We managed to stump Dr. Jade, and that ain't easy.
No, it's
So
not that I'm
was-
stumped. It's not that I'm stumped because it's just that that's not a part of
That's not
medical
medical
training.
at all.
That's not medical training.
So
no,
there is no
no.
thing as such thing as microdosing.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, right. Okay. So
But that's a
whole
totally
nother story.
different field. It sounds
Right.
like they're more on
It could work for that individual, but
I
you're
have
saying
no
as
idea.
a doctor,
As a physician,
it's
no.
not.
I have no advice on microdosing LSD. No.
Right. Okay. Well, let's talk about black stuff for a second. So the black people in America, we kind of got a raw deal. I don't know if you know or not, but they brought us over on these ships, and there's a whole.
I'm familiar.
Yeah, there's a whole thing. We don't like to talk about it, but anyway, I always heard that it was about the diet that we had been given for years and decades upon generations, heavy with the pork, heavy with the saturated fats, heavy with the carbs. We didn't really get a healthy plant-based diet, and the food that we got for years wasn't even the I'm going to, for lack of a better word, say the first choice. We got thrown scraps
Absolutely.
of meat, which probably meant it wasn't cured as well as some of the other meats were, and it probably wasn't preserved as well as some of the other meats. And that's just what we had.
Absolutely.
And we're going to eat what we got to eat because we're humans. We have to live. But now we're, 500 years later, we can go and get vegan food if we want to, or we can be pescatarians if we want to. So is that a real thing now? Is the black health issues, are they still as strong based on our diet? Is our diet still the main key concern?
80% of it is diet. Absolutely. Absolutely. And so when you think about that, it's important. The historical component is so important to not glance over because it's our foundation. And we're going to eat what we were taught to eat, what our mom fixed us, what our grandma fixed us, what our taste buds enjoy based on those positive experiences around the holidays or, the smell of grandma's whatever,
Right, right.
those are it's
Chitterlings.
Yes, it's complicated because when I start talking about healthy eating, primarily whole food plant-based diets, it's unrealistic for me to think that that people are ready to just jump straight into tofu and broccoli. Okay, that's
Right.
not usually where people are ready to run into. And so I look at everything on a health spectrum. If you're over here on the left, where it's burgers and fries, and all the way to the right is tofu and black beans, there's so much in between there that we can slowly transition towards healthier food that helps with disease prevention and reversal. And so it's a mix of finding the flavors and the seasonings and the sauces on healthy foods that still give it that cultural feel and that cultural enjoyment without the saturated fats that increase our risk of high cholesterol and heart attack and stroke. So those are things I work on with my patients.
Now, let me ask you this. First off, time is never on our side. Like, I'm really getting into this conversation, and we're going to run out of time pretty soon. So that's how the show works, But I want to ask you about a philosophy that I've heard people say, that all of this healthy eating, like, I'm sure you've heard somebody say this. They'll say something like, well, listen, my grandpa used to eat bacon, and just right out of the bag, he would just put the bacon and eat the whole thing, and he'd fry it. Then he'd keep the grease, and then they would use the grease to cook the ham later. They would use the grease of this. And that's just how grandma and grandpa lived, and they lived to be 97 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So why are we so concerned about what we eat today, when what we eat today has been more processed, there's been more additives, there's more GMOs and so on and so forth? But grandma and grandpa didn't have that stuff, and look at them. They had a great life, right?
Yeah. It's interesting because we have choices. We all have choices. We can choose to use tobacco or to drink a pint a day or
Right.
to eat lard. We can make that choice.
I don't know if
And
that's a choice.
and some people will be okay. Most
Right.
people will not be okay. Or we can choose to intentionally make healthier choices with the intention that we want to be around and have longevity and have a great quality of life, and at least do our part to contribute to our body, the one body we get, the one life we get, to try to put our best foot forward in helping that body to age gracefully and to feel good in every decade of life. You have a choice. You can choose to take your chances by intentionally choosing unhealthy choices, or you can choose, I'm going to do my best with the choices I do have. I can't necessarily choose my genetics, but I can choose what I put in my body. I can choose how much I move my body. I can choose how I reduce my stress. So it all depends on what you want to do. And there is the healthcare approach, or there's the sick care approach, where you have the 12
that's
bottles
good.
of pills but you're living to 80.
That's a good approach. Now, before I run out of time, I was just curious, because you were talking so much about healthy living and healthy dieting. Are you vegan yourself, or vegetarian yourself, or what's your regimen?
I get that question a lot. I am not vegan. I'm not vegetarian. I eat a primarily whole food plant-based diet, which basically means, and I don't like the word diet, but nutrition, which basically means I try to focus the majority of my diet, 80% of my diet, on vegetables, whole grains, fruits, and minimal meats, minimum dairy, minimal alcohol. So if I'm out with my family, my kiddos, and we're having ice cream, yeah, I'll have the ice cream. But is that what I'm having every day? Absolutely not. That's a treat here and there. So my focus is on most of my food coming from the earth being nutrition label free.
Now, doggone it, I gotta say, like I said, we're gonna run out of time. My mic started acting crazy. Yeah, thank you. I want to ask, this has to be my last question, because I'm gonna run out of time if I get my mic right. There we go. Okay. Nope. There we go. Okay, so this is my last question I have time for. For example, my mom. I go back to Kansas City. I visit my mom. My mom takes my sister's kids and my brother's kids out to eat. In the morning, they have McDonald's breakfast. For afternoon, they have Kentucky Fried Chicken. For dinner, she makes pork chops. And for dessert, they have gallons and gallons of ice cream and sweet-related treats before they go to bed. I look at this, and coming from Southern California, I go, Mom, you're nuts. Like, you can't feed these kids like this. This is going to create problems, right? So tell me about that, doctor. You said you have kiddos yourself. We have terrible, terrible nutritional values in this country. You know, the kids eat breakfast cereal full of sugar. Then they go out and they get a fruit roll up, which is more or less more sugar. And then they get, for example, treats throughout the day. Maybe the ice cream man shows up and they get ice cream, or they get a bomb pop, or they get a frozen treat, but that's still more sugar. There's two questions involved in this, and then, like I said, I'm out of time. What's the damage done by sugar? Why are we so worried about sugar, number one? And then number two, what can we do about this obesity epidemic in America? Because it starts with the kids. Would you agree? I mean, if you're giving your kids a bowl of sugar in the morning and a bowl of sugar through the day, and then at the nighttime, guess what? 2 more bowls of sugar. What gives?
I actually disagree respectfully that it doesn't start with the kids.
Okay.
It's like being on the airplane and they always say put your oxygen mask on first before your child. If you as the parents are not eating a healthy lifestyle or consuming healthy foods, then it's going to be less likely you're going to give that to your child. So I would say it first starts with the adults in educating ourselves and trying new healthy foods and trying to say, ooh, let's try it together. For example, I told my husband for Christmas, all I want is a juicer. And of course I wanted the most expensive one on, I was like, I want this juicer. That's my one Christmas.
Blinged out with Swarovski
Exactly.
crystals.
But
Yes.
when I opened the box, it became an activity my kids wanted to do with me because they just want to hang with mom. They just want to do what mom does. So they love making juice with me. Now, if I said, you know what, if all I want is a deep fryer for Christmas, then guess what? My kids would be loving whatever I'm deep frying. So it starts with the adults really seeking those healthy habits out and then getting the kids to try it or fix it in a way that really tricks them into it. Okay, maybe they won't eat it, but maybe we can blend some of the spinach into the smoothie. Yeah. So, it's tough with kids. I didn't realize how tough it was with kids until I had kids. My daughters are 1 and 3. However, I give them what I know they'll eat, which is a quesadilla, and then I'm going to give them things I know they should eat, which is some strawberries on the side and, applesauce. So it's a mixture for them. But also when they see me, she's always like, what are you having, Mom? Oh, you're having a salad? I don't like salad. Maybe when I'm older. Yeah, maybe when you're older, baby. So, it's teaching them the healthy habits without trying to force it down their throat.
Interesting. And Dr. Jade, how do we find you on social media? You have won us over, and we want to share the word, and we want everybody to follow, like, share, and subscribe. What do they need to do next?
Absolutely. If you're in the Las Vegas community, my private practice, Inspire Primary Care, is now enrolling new members to our membership practice. You can have insurance or not have insurance. We do a membership model. I would love to be your doctor while I'm accepting patients. That's at inspireprimarycare.com. We spell Inspire without the I in the front. So NSPIRE, primarycare.com. That's how you enroll into the practice. You can find me on Instagram at Inspire Primary Care and at Dr. Jade MD.
And that is what's up. Hey, man, stop taking an apple a day and avoiding your doctor. Go ahead and see your doctor. I'm inspired now to go and see Dr. Jade or any doctor she recommends because I may not get to see her. She's pretty popular. So I go to there and they might say, oh, well, Dr. Jade's busy. You have to see Dr. Onyx or Dr. Diamond. But I get it, and I'm fine with that. But I'm saying, we do have to get healthy in this country. And you know what they say, man, if you've got a problem, the best thing to do is first acknowledge that you do have the problem and that you need to fix it. You know what I say at the end of every show, man, and I still mean it to this day. Live the life you love. Love the life you live. Thank you.